This is GamesAtWork.biz, your weekly podcast about gaming, technology, and play. Your hosts are Michael Martin, Andy Piper, and Michael Rowe. The thoughts and opinions on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests alone and are not the opinions of any organization which they have been, are, or may be affiliated with. This is episode 528, Monstrous Mice and Nano Bananas. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Michael Rowe here. It's Friday. It's time to talk tech, and I'm here with my two friends, Michael Martin and Andy Piper, ready to talk with you. Andy, how are you?
Michael, I am well, thank you. I am, baffled and bamboozled by all of the tech news coming out of the internet every day, but I'm hoping that you both can untangle it all for me. Michael Martin.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, Michael Martin, how are you?
Well, I don't know. If you're counting on me to untangle, I think we're in bad shape. But maybe between the three of us, we're going to do a yeoman's work here on this week's news. So let's dive right in. There's a ton.
I feel like a little snack to start off with. Maybe a little fruity snack. What do we think?
A little fruity snack?
Yeah, a little tiny
Adafruit, maybe?
Cocoa Pebbles?
Little pie?
Tiny banana.
Tiny banana. Yeah. So this was actually fun earlier this week. There was an article from the Washington Post talking about the new set of capabilities from Google's Gemini chatbot. And as I shared the news of this article with the team, Andy immediately did some generative AI himself to create a visual representation of what a nano banana might look like. And those were pretty cool, actually, you know, like an atom-sized banana, or a banana in the midst of like sort of like a cloud of photons and electrons
Nuclear banana.
It was very argumentative. I had this vision of a banana inside an atom that I wanted it to reproduce for me, and it ended up telling me that was physically impossible, so I couldn't have my banana inside an atom.
You were not allowed.
I was upset about. But anyway, the point here is that Google has a new image model called Nano. It's formerly called Nano Banana, but it's no longer called that. It's now just one of the new AI models that's implemented in Gemini. And there's a couple of things that it appears to have extremely good capabilities at. One of them is holding image context, so giving it the same image and then asking for modifications to that over a series of prompts, and it can do things like replacing a person's clothes but leaving them in the same telephone booth, or replacing the person in the same telephone booth with another thing, for example. The other standout feature that is mentioned and shown in this particular article in the Washington Post is altering black and white or very fuzzy family photos, old family photos, and sort of upscaling, colorizing, and doing all that cleanup stuff that we've seen in apps like PhotoMean and others before. This is now just sort of baked into the image capabilities of Gemini. I'm never sure how great those, black and white to color conversions end up being. I mean, they're fun to look at, but you can't, I don't think, take them particularly seriously as representations of the original image taker's intent.
I've actually taken some old pictures of mine that were put on very bad paper, so they kind of lost their color. And I have like multiple copies of them, some of them that are well preserved, so I know the original color, and have run a couple of them through color correction or colorization, and they're pretty good. I mean, they tend to get a little bit too saturated in their colors, I guess is the right technical term. The thing that got me about this was really twofold. One, as you say, the ability to do edge detection and isolate subcomponents of an image correctly, right? So that you can remove a person and put another person in its place and things like that. Those were pretty incredible. I was trying to find a book that I have from like the early 1990s on graphics programming and how to do edge detection, and I couldn't find it. While you guys were talking, I was looking in my office trying to find it, but the fact that we've gone from, a 300-page technical tome on how to do correct edge detection in graphics programming to the fact that I can just throw an AI at it is just amazing to me. It does still corrupt text in the image to some degree, which the article points out with the phone booth one. If you look at like the touchpad on the phone itself and things like that. But yeah, this is incredible, and they are really getting better and better every year.
With the whole thought of we should have flying cars by now, what strikes me is that point that you made about the phone keypad of it turning into the AI gibberish, as opposed to just maintaining the numbers that were on the number pad to begin with. We should have flying cars by now. Why is that still a problem? You're doing so many other sophisticated things, like the original picture, the guy had an Aura ring. And the second version where he's got the headdress on, it's bedazzled, and where he gets turned into a water buffalo, the water buffalo still has the Aura ring on, which I thought was a nice touch. So there's really some level of sophistication there that's not matched by arguably what should be easy. Right,
yeah. Which is scary, because those easy things are the details actually that you want to get right if you are building a flying car, right? The fact that it's not going to fall out of the sky, the fact that it's not
or
going to
secure software for that matter, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we're
it's great demoware.
We're propelling ourselves forwards without dealing with the small little bugs around the edges, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have some of those bugs around the edges, because that'll help you at least identify when there is a problem, so that you could say, well, okay, is this AI generated or not? Because those things are going to disappear really, really fast, and watermarking's not going to help. Mm-hmm. All right, so next up on our list is kind of an interesting example here of doing captioning from video on the fly within your personal device. And while I have not personally given this a what for, and a go in my environment, Fast VLM, the visual language model from Apple, has now proven itself to be, pretty sophisticated in connecting up with speech to text ability of interacting now with your environment, and this can take things in a whole new direction. Michael, I'm curious to know, is this something that's on your test box already, and have you kind of kicked the tires here in this?
I've wanted to. My plan when I saw the article was immediately to go do it, and then life got in the way this week. I really think this is a publication to kind of prep the market for maybe capabilities that might be released next week. If you think about on-device AI capabilities, right? Mm-hmm. That's how I read this, right? This is a very small model that runs really fast, could be done in a quote-unquote constrained environment. A modern phone is no longer constrained when you really think about the capabilities on it. But I do find it really interesting that we're getting more and more examples of very targeted, highly improved language models, right? Because what I did after seeing this, I did briefly look at what I could find on Ollama to install locally.
Right.
And one of the ones that I found were, actually I found two. One was, I can't remember the name of it, but it gave you a language model that was trained on Mexican history. So you could do history questions about Mexico. There's another one on UK history out there. And these are models that you can install. They're very quote-unquote small, and will do history discussions with you. So targeted language models to specific tasks might be a way to clean up some of that edge case problem that we just talked about when you start using them in a learning environment or an education environment.
Interesting, and that's a nice follow-on from last week's episode where we talked a little about the historical large language models as well. And
you caught it.
and I actually need to stop this right now because I just went into Olama and said find fast VLMs -05B and it's downloading now 12 gigs worth of stuff. So stop this. If I'm getting choppy, that might be what, because of the model.
There we go.
In case you're wondering.
No, you were sounding fine.
Okay, good. So next up, kind of another fun story for those of us who really love GANs. A listener link into the show deals with a concept about training LLMs with themselves, and this is just such classic GAN sort of a story and a technique where you've got a challenger and a solver, and the article actually takes you to one point further where there's a verifier as well about what could you do to help make a machine learning, if you will, a large language model help to evolve itself and get even more sophisticated, even faster, without going through other mechanisms of training the model, doing the data sets, doing the ingestion, and a whole lot more. So I've read through it. I don't have all the technical elements super top of mind here for me and me personally, but this seems to be a way of taking some of those smaller language models or historical language models and then running them through a process like this to have them be better, stronger, faster, and more efficient.
I looked at the article and like you, I didn't go through all of it in graphic detail, but the one question I had is they talk about an improvement of 6.49 score.
Yeah.
Right? And I didn't have context of what did that mean. Was it 6% better? Right? Was it, what does that score mean and how accurate does it make that model? It goes back to, our edge case. Again, if I'm in a flying car that's 90% effective, I'm not going to be in that car. If I'm in one that's, 99.9999, and it improved by 6%, I'm probably flying either way, right? And so I didn't understand the scale it was referring to, but anything that helps improve the model and get it to more accurate answers, I think is a good thing.
Well, I think the scale is against a specific benchmark, which, again, if you understand the benchmarks models that they're talking about, then it has more, it's more meaningful for you. I think for the three of us, it's probably not contextually meaningful enough because we're not deep enough on the specific benchmarks. But yeah.
There was one other thing that now I'm looking at the article again, I wanted to mention to you guys because this part was really tickled my here's where games and gamification kind of fits in really nicely. Jane McGonigal was one of the people who's talked about flow. Mm-hmm. And this article also talked about how does the teacher, the challenger in this model, create questions and structures fast enough that are difficult enough that are not easily solvable by the model itself. And then that is what's challenging it to get even better, right? That's how does it go even better. And that, to me, that just tickled me a lot because we're right back again to gamers get into a state of flow when the game is neither too hard that it is impossible to play and win, nor is it too easy that it is boring and it's a waste of your time. You want to have things just at that Goldilocks stage of just right, where you're balancing both, and it works for humans apparently as well as for GAN kind of environments to get optimal results. So I meant to include that, and I'm glad I saw this because it just tickled me so much, and I wanted to share that with you. Okay, now we've got some interesting things. We've talked about glasses and vision and augmented reality and a whole bunch of stuff, and there is one of these kind of ick things that kind of came across our radar this week, and it only required us to look at the title of the article to go, yeah, that's not great. So you can imagine situations where if you've got a pair of glasses on that are recording and the visual or the audio, you can get yourself into trouble depending upon where you wear said glasses. And this particular one is about a salon experience where a person said, nope, don't want to have you do the salon treatment because I don't want to be part of a video.
Yeah, and we talked about before the show, kind of the ick factor and the fact that, the behavior, while not acceptable yet, the norms are changing situationally. And how before it was really obvious when people were glass holes, but with the Meta Ray-Bans and other glasses that are much more glasses-like, people may not even realize it at times. And how do you address that appropriately from a societal perspective? And there was a great story, I think, Andy, that you had talked about in the UK. I don't know if it's considered a great story, but just the reaction to people being filmed in grocery stores too, right?
Yeah, I think it's it's similar but different. Obviously, when it's a store and it's a sort of corporate or retail environment where
closed circuit TV and cameras, and
absolutely.
Such, right?
But then in this case, obviously, it's a very one-on-one or one-to-many approach. Yeah, it was a surprising story. It was obviously a great headline to get people to think about the context in which people might be wearing smart glasses, whether they're on, whether they're recording, what they're doing. In the case of the Meta glasses, they have the little recording light, so you should, in theory, know if they're active and recording video and so on. But I can certainly understand this lady having a particular treatment and not wanting that to be filmed by accident or anything, and challenging the person. We were also talking before the show about people's level of confidence or general readiness to challenge other people. Maybe you're in a society that is generally more I was going to say polite. I maybe restrained would be an appropriate way of putting it here, in terms of challenging other people. I came across, while we were talking about it, though, an interesting, to me, project which has been on Hacker News today, about a open source operating system for multiple smart glasses devices, not to the point of jailbreaking the Meta ones, but being applied to some other models, which all look around the same sort of price range. Looking at the name, they're not names I'd heard of, but this is something called Mentra OS, who has source code on GitHub. And should you be interested, Michael reminded me it's somewhat similar to the monocle I have, which is something that I fit over my top of my glasses. That company now, Brilliant Labs, has gone on to make actual full smart glasses. That was really one of their prototypes, which is still quite fun to play with from the perspective of having the in-eye in-vision display, being able to hack it with MicroPython. But this idea of an operating system that's cross-platform in the sense of cross-devices. I think, briefly digging into it, there seemed to be some Android-style code in there. There's certainly Android core Android library. Whether that means it's running an Android derivative on the glass, it's not clear to me. But could be interesting, or not, depending on how into building for that environment you are.
And you know what, Andy, your monocle, we did talk about that. That was back in February of last year. So
really? So look how quickly things have evolved, right? You were going from those prototypes, although that was, the goal again. I think the Meta ones may have been out by then already, but that's still a somewhat chunky but wearable thing that goes over one eye with in-vision display, and could let you do a limited amount of stuff. And now there's quite a few available, high street available or online available brands which will do you your prescription lenses and so on.
And the Mentra the Mentra project is also selling for shipping in December Mentra glasses.
Right.
The actual glasses themselves for $250 round number, right?
That's not too bad, and they've got some apps there showing as a
pretty cool
kind of little app store. So yeah, it could be quite interesting. I would be particularly interested if they jailbroke the Meta glasses in the future and enabled you to run alternative operating systems on that hardware. That would be super interesting.
Well, I'm sure someone was hard at work on that right now, and it'll be intriguing to see how that comes about. All right. So speaking of things that don't work exactly as you hope or might, Michael inserted into our playlist a story specifically for me, knowing that I love BMWs, and mine is from 1999, so it does not suffer from any of the challenges or problems that
Yours is
they
a fun
have
car.
with the issues on the software. But it is a TechCrunch article where the author of this particular article bemoans the fact that their software is so challenging on so many levels that they just can't wait for their lease to be over so they can go and get something else.
And you would think that's the story I wanted you to hit, but the real story here is all the gripes I've heard about Apple's liquid glass this summer could be repeated with this BMW story, as in, Apple, why did you ruin everything to wherein if I want to share a web page in Safari on my iPhone, I have to click, 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 right? And there's all these extra steps.
That is not the story I've read from this. So I talked to my wife about this, and we were discussing the story, and particularly there's a couple of interesting elements to this for me. One of them is that they give you the backstory of how long they'd owned their previous vehicle, hadn't felt the need to upgrade, got this great deal, lease, I think it was, and finally got the future luxury car to them, and the whole thing was ruined by the software. And now, Michael, that is somewhat similar to what you just said about liquid glass, because there's an argument that says Apple has created this wonderful hardware, physical hardware, and is about to ruin it with a load of questionable software. Let's find out in a month or so's time when things ship. But that's what I read here. I was really fascinated by the multi-step, which is where you were going with what you were just saying, multi-step failures of things like the digital key not working, needing to re-authenticate multiple times, and so on. I have similar frustrations, not to the extent that this was describing, with my vehicle, where suddenly I'll be driving along and it will suddenly pop up and say the terms and conditions have changed. Do you want to accept the new terms and conditions on the screen?
While driving,
and then you go,
if you would like to press the brakes,
yes,
please hit
and then it says,
accept.
so you're driving, you can't accept these right now. And I'm like, well, why did you show me the message then? And then when you finally get somewhere and stop and accept the terms and conditions, and then it says, hold on a minute, I'm just activating or reactivating your Connect service. And
your subscription. Yeah.
What?
Oh, God.
I've been driving the car. So, it's very frustrating to when these things happen. And very frequently, the dealer is not able to do anything about it because they are dealing the hardware or shipping the product to you. They're not software experts. They don't understand the cloud connection. They can't debug your ID issue. They can't. So that was the thing that I read into it and found really interesting.
Wow. You hit on something super, super, super important, because you're right. The support structure and network from a physical perspective is absolutely at a dealer point of view.
The i4, reading from this, the i4 is gorgeous, drives beautifully, and represents everything I thought I wanted in an electric vehicle, but I can't continue a relationship where the most basic functions, unlocking doors, connecting my phone, getting directions, require
turning
the
off the lights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's,
hitting the brakes.
That's terrifying.
Oh my gosh. All right. So speaking of terrifying things, we've got a few more things to hit before we close out today. We've got a game on Kickstarter that was coming in from a listener, looking very exciting about making monsters. That looks pretty cool.
This is actually really cool. So what this is, a father who used game night as a time to always play with his kids, came down with blood cancer and went through treatment. And as he was going through the treatment and everything, they decided to create this game as a way of getting the family together to basically help the kids understand how to fight blood cancer. Mm-hmm. And you are making monsters to defeat cancer, basically.
That's cool.
It's a brilliant game idea. I loved it. The guy is from Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Woo.
that's the other interesting angle. I thought you would appreciate that. I think this is really, really cool. It's not, the Kickstarter has not launched yet. It's in waiting to launch mode, but definitely something that I think listeners to our show may want to look at, and once it launches.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun playing with my kids on Spore, which I'm going to put the link in from back a couple of years ago here too, that you can learn a little bit more about.
Back a couple of years ago, you're talking about Spore, the game, the game,
yeah.
the video game,
EA game.
When you say
by the guy, yeah.
when you say a couple of years ago, you do know you're talking about like 15 years ago, right?
Oh no, don't do
Yes.
that. It just makes it seem so long.
You know, it's like
Makes it seem
30 years since Xena the Warrior Princess came out today.
Oh, don't even start.
I know, right?
So, what about this office job game? This looks hilarious, right? So, talk about hardware.
I came across this one recently. I don't remember how I was exploring, how I came across this.
What you were doing?
Story. Yeah, exactly. But this is a particular maker. I remember exactly. The original story was a maker who's made these new little robotic plotters, and his collaborator, when I linked through to his website, has done a load of interesting things. And this particular one is actually a 3-year-old story about a maker who built this thing called Office Job, an art installation, which is essentially a massive PC-like thing in a box. But the best part is that as well as having an oversized sort of PC box, it has a human-sized mouse. So it's got this kind of thing that you need 2 people to move around on the floor as its control device.
By human size, you mean size of a human?
Yes, exactly. I should have said that. I meant, yeah, it's sized up to the point where it's a giant-sized mouse, let's say. Yeah, and so the idea is, and there's a lovely YouTube video of some people playing around with this. Michael Rowe, you pointed out that part of the game includes multiple different operating system screens sort of popping up, which is great from a retro perspective. Clippy obviously makes an appearance, which you have to give them some respect for. But it's a super fun little thing. I just love these kind of situations where you oversize or micro size or otherwise change the perspective on real life and interactions.
All right, so friends, we're gonna get us home with one last Hackster.io story here that looked kind of cool. As long as we're thinking about things that are old, mini PCs turning into cartridge consoles and how to get this way, from Alex Slovak. It looks like Alex.
This is great. So, this is an evolution, really, of the Steam Deck operating system concept, right? So making the PC gaming system into a console, so it is a single-purpose device you put in, rather than having a load of complexity and various other things to drivers and so on to install. It's relying on the fact that now you've got very reliable emulators that can perfectly emulate old systems. You can easily put what used to be a stack of CDs worth of content back in the 90s onto an SD card, make that SD card read-only, or never ever touch it from a write perspective from the PC, shove that SD card into your mini PC and switch the mini PC on, and it will boot up straight into essentially Linux, which will then detect, it's Warcraft 2 or whatever game it might be. I need this emulator, and let's just run it in a container, not do anything that could harm the system, save all of the progress off somewhere else. I love this kind of idea of making the PC gaming platforms of the past into these kind of appliances. I think it was a very, very clever hack and application of technology.
And the software is open source.
Absolutely.
Available on GitHub.
Yep.
Yeah, super stuff. So give it a look. Kazeta, or pronounce something similar to that. So have a look. All right, well, friends, that gets us to the end of our time today. Continue to drop us those links through whatever means possible. We do accept character pigeon.
And I just
Andy?
want to say thanks to both of you for untangling all of that confusion for me. I feel thoroughly educated and understanding all of the links now. So good work.
Well, one way or another, we did it as a team. So if you have something you need untangled, you know what to do. Send it our way. You can find us on Mastodon. You can text it to us. You can send us email, smoke signals, whatever floats your particular boat or your mini PC. And we'll see you next time right here again on gamesatwork.biz. See ya.
You've been listening to GamesAtWork.biz, the podcast about gaming technology and play. We are part of the Blueberry Podcasting Network, and would like to thank the band Random Encounters for their song, Big Blue. You can follow us at our website at GamesAtWork.biz.